Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. We're coming to you live this Tuesday, 23rd day of September, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Former President Rodrigo Duterte is facing 3 counts of murder as crimes against humanity filed by prosecutors of the International Criminal Court. The charges are linked to 49 incidents of murder and attempted murder committed during his anti-drug campaign while he was Davao City Mayor as well as Philippine President. State Weather Bureau Pag-asa says Super Typhoon Nando continues to weaken and is now set to exit the Philippine area of responsibility. However, the typhoon first battered northern Luzon, unleashing destructive winds and heavy rains that forced thousands to evacuate. And the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee resumes its investigation into anomalous flood control projects today, with former DPWH engineer Bryce Hernandez at the center of the probe. Committee Chairman Ping Lacson is threatening to revoke the legislative immunity of Hernandez after he refused to surrender a computer believed to hold key evidence. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Super Typhoon Nando has battered northern Luzon, bringing destructive winds, heavy rains, and forcing thousands to evacuate. More in this report.
Super Typhoon Nando unleashed its fury over northern Luzon. In Sabtang, Batanes, fierce winds whistled across the island accompanied by torrential rains. In Pasco, towering waves jolted residents awake as they slammed into Boulder Beach.
Kasi zero visibility na yun. Pabinita ta, lavay.
In Ivana, relentless downpours reduced visibility to zero, forcing motorists to halt their trips. The entire province of Batanes was placed under signal number 5 as Nando barreled through.
Mas malakas po yung last year, pero konti lang po ang difference. Opo.
Okay po.
Tsaka ang problema po kasi, ang comparison last year, medyo hindi kami nakapag-prepare ng earlier. Pero ngayon po kasi talagang 2 days before, talagang in-anticipate na po namin yung situation.
In Santa Maria, Ilocos Sur, powerful winds nearly stripped homes bare. As the storm raged, people could be heard screaming and weeping. A tornado also formed in Barangay Maynganay, adding to the destruction. In Santa Ana, Kagayan, strong winds sent residents scrambling for shelter. Photos from Kagayan show the roofs of nipa huts ripped away by the storm. And in Mountain Province, the Chico River in Bontoc swelled dangerously, close to overflowing after hours of unrelenting rain. According to the NDRRMC, more than 4,000 families were evacuated across several provinces before the storm made landfall. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
Super Typhoon Nando continues to weaken and is about to exit the Philippine area of responsibility. That's according to Pag-asa. And for more details on that, we have now on the show weather specialist Charmaine Varilla. Magandang umaga sa iyo, Charmaine. What's the latest?
Yes, ma'am, magandang umaga po. At sa kasalukuyan po, nakalabas na nga ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility kaninang 4:50 a.m. itong si Bagyong Nando. At ngayon, huli itong namataan sa layong 265 kilometers kanluran ng Kalayan, Kagayan. May taglay pa rin itong lakas ng hangin na umaabot ng 185 kilometers per hour malapit sa sentro at mga pagbugso pa na umaabot hanggang 230 kilometers per hour. Patuloy pa rin itong kumikilos pakanluran sa bilis na 20 kilometers per hour. Nananatili nga na yung pinakamalalakas na hangin nito ay maabot 650 kilometers mula sa sentro at kung susumahin, nananatili pa rin na nasa super typhoon category at malaki yung sakop ng kanyang diametro. At sa nakikita nga nating senaryo, habang tumatahak ito pakanluran dito sa may katimugang bahagi ng China, maaari pa itong humina at maging typhoon na lamang. Sa ngayon, nakaka-apekto pa rin ito sa malaking bahagi ng Ilocos Ilocos Region, maging sa nalalabing bahagi ng Northern Luzon at Central Luzon. Kaya naman, nakataas pa rin ang wind signal number 3 dito sa may Ilocos Norte, maging sa northwestern portion ng Apayao at northwestern portion ng mainland Cagayan, maging sa kasama dito ang kanlurang bahagi pa ng Babuyan Islands. Signal number 2 naman sa Batanes, rest of Babuyan Islands, northern at central portion ng Cagayan, maging sa ibang bahagi ng Apayao, Abra, Kalinga, western portion ng Mountain Province, maging sa northern portion ng Benguet, Ilocos Sur at northern portion ng La Union. Signal number 1 naman sa ibang bahagi ng Cagayan, Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, northern at central portion ng Aurora, maging sa ibang bahagi ng Mountain Province, Ifugao, rest of Benguet, rest of La Union, Pangasinan, northern portion ng Zambales, northern at central portion ng Tarlac, maging sa northern at central portion ng Nueva Ecija. Muli, kahit na nakalabas ng ating PAR na itong si Super Typhoon Nando, patuloy pa rin tayong mag-iingat sa malalakas na hangin na dala pa rin itong bagyo. Samantalang, dahil nga patuloy pa rin yung hinahatak at pinapalakas nitong bagyo ang southwest monsoon, makararanas din na malalakas sa pagbugso ng hangin kasama at dyan ang Metro Manila, ibang bahagi dito sa Luzon na walang wind signal hanggang sa may Visayas. Mag-igat din tayo sa malalakas na hangin na dala nitong habagat. Sa dami naman ng mga pag-ulan ngayong araw, nananatili pa rin na malaking bahagi pa rin ng Northern Luzon ang makararanas ng mga malalakas na pag-ulan, maging sa kanlurang bahagi ng Central Luzon hanggang dito sa may Mindoro, at maaari ngayong mag-range mula 50 to 200 millimeters. Kaya muli, patuloy na pag-iingat sa mga peligrong dala ng mga pag-ulan na katulad nga ng pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa. Samantalang, nananatili din ang ating gale warning dito sa may seaboards ng Northern Luzon at patuloy nating pinapayuhan ang lahat ng sasakyang pandagat na kung maaari ay pagpaliban muna ang paglalayag dahil mataas pa rin ang mga alon sa ating karagatan. Samantalang, nananatili pa rin na meron tayong katamtaman hanggang sa mataas na tsansa ng storm surge at maaari ang umabot mula 1 hanggang 3 metro pa rin sa susunod na 12 oras dito sa may baybayin ng Batanes, Cagayan, Babuyan Islands, Ilocos Norte at Ilocos Sur. Patuloy pa rin tayo mag-ingat sa mga banta ng storm surge. At bukod nga dito kay Bagyong Nando ay meron pa tayong binabantayan na low pressure area sa labas ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Ngayon nga ay estimated ito sa layong 1,200 kilometers silangan ng Giwan, Samar. At sa nakikita nga natin, meron itong mataas na tsansa na maging isang bagyo at maaari nga itong pumasok sa loob ng ating PAR mamaya ng gabi o bukas ng umaga. At pinapakita din sa mga model na maaari nga itong dumaan at mag-cross dito sa may kalupaan ng Eastern Visayas at Southern Luzon. Sa ngayon, marami pa rin pagbabago dito sa low pressure area at ang sigurado lang natin, although kung hindi man ito magiging bagyo, ay maaari pa rin itong magdulot ng mga pag-ulan sa malaking bahagi pa rin ng Visayas at Southern Luzon at gayon din nga yung hugot nitong habagat sa mga nasabi pang lugar. At yan po ang latest mula dito sa Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. Charmaine Varilla, nag-uulat.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive report. Mukhang magiging tuloy-tuloy ang pag-ulan mula dito sa Nando na nakalabas na ng Philippine Area of Responsibility pero magdadala pa rin ng malalakas na hangin at of course affecting the habagat. And of course another low-pressure area moving towards the Philippine Area of Responsibility. As you said, mukhang yan ay papasok ngayong gabi hanggang bukas ng umaga. So better to stay prepared for the rains even if the skies are clear. Maraming salamat sa iyong update. We have Charmaine Varilla from Pag-asa. Meanwhile, several LGUs have announced suspension of classes today due to Super Typhoon Nando and the habagat. Classes at all levels are suspended in Makati, Mandaluyong, Valenzuela, and Manila. The same applies to Caloocan, Muntinlupa, Pasay, and San Juan. Also, no classes at all levels in Marikina, Pateros, Malabon, and Parañaque, as well as in Quezon City, Las Piñas, Navotas, and Taguig. In Northern Luzon, classes are suspended in Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Abra, and Apayao, along with Batanes, Benguet, Cagayan, La Union, and Batangas. Suspensions also cover all levels in Baguio City, Bulacan, Pampanga, Bataan, Cavite, and Rizal. In addition, classes are canceled in Alaminos, Pangasinan, Dagupan City, and the towns of San Antonio and San Isidro in Nueva Ecija. In Tarlac, municipalities of Capas, Concepcion, and Paniqui have also declared no classes. Olongapo City and other parts of Zambales have suspended classes as well. In Laguna, all levels are suspended in the towns of Alaminos, Binyan, Liliw, and Lumban, as well as in Mabitac, Nagcarlan, Pila, and Siniloan. From preschool to senior high school, classes are suspended in Pasig City, Basista, and San Quintin in Pangasinan, as well as in Santa Rosa, Laguna. And Super Typhoon Nando made landfall in Cagayan yesterday, battering much of the province with strong winds and heavy rain. In Apari, gusts and scattered downpours are being experienced. Huge waves and storm surges slammed at the height of the storm, flooding the pier where the Cagayan River meets the Philippine Sea. Floodwaters and debris swamped roads while rescuers carried children and senior citizens to safety as forced evacuations were ordered. And now let's get updates right from Cagayan. We have PDRRMO head Rueli Rapsing joining us via Zoom. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Sir, nakamute ho kayo?
Yes, good morning, Ms. Gretchen, and sa inyong mga taga-subaybay.
And there you go. Okay, una-una ho, mukhang clear na po ang weather dyan. Tama po ba? How is everything going now? What's the situation like?
Yes, Ms. Gretchen, sumilip na ang haring araw sa amin at clear na skies na kami. Wala na kaming hangin at pagulan.
Oo, ito po ay naglandfall kahapon sa Panwitan Island, Cagayan. How did that affect the province?
Well, ang pinaka-devastated talaga nung dumaan dito si Super Typhoon Nando, Ms. Gretchen, is the Kagayan municipality and yung 10 coastal municipalities ng mainland. These are Santa Gonzaga, Santa Teresita, Bugay, Apari, Ballesteros, Abulug, Pamplona, Sanchez Mira, Claveria, and Santa Cruz.
Oo. Just to be clear, no, lahat po ng mga residente ay naka-forced evacuation sa ngayon?
Yes, Ms. Gretchen. They're still staying sa evacuation center where MDRMOs will be going out to assess damages.
Mm-hmm. Oh, kanina po ay nagbabala ang Pag-asa laban sa storm surge. Is there still a threat in your coastlines?
Well, matataas pa yung alon na Ms. Gretchen, but threat of storm surge, wala naman ang nilabas na storm surge warning ang Pag-asa for province of Cagayan.
Oo. Kamusta naman po yung mga barangay na nabanggit po ninyo kanina, yung mga lugar na heavily hit? Are there any reported casualties or injuries?
No reported casualties or injuries. Zero casualty kami, Ms. Gretchen.
That's very good to hear. I guess the province is very much prepared. No? But how are the communication lines and the status of electricity in the towns that you mentioned?
Yes, hindi lang po namin makapag-establish ng communication. We're establishing communication with Kalayan through Starlink lang po. But yung smart communication down po doon, yun lang pong available telco doon sa municipality of Kalayan na Minister. The rest of the province, may communication po talaga.
Pero sa ngayon, ano po yung biggest challenge po natin in the recovery of your province?
Well, since we've already evacuated yung mga road talaga the storm surge and itong mga northern coastal municipalities natin, Ms. Gretchen, ang relief naman nila sapat-sapat. Hindi pa kami humihingi ng augmentation ng PSWD. What we're asking yung mga nilipad na mga pupungan ng ating kababayan. The national government that plans on providing assistance, might as well yung mga non-food items na description.
So, yung po yung mga bahay po yung nag-suffer dito sa sa Super Typhoon Nando. Nabanggit nga po na napakalakas po nung hangin na dala nito.
Yes, Ms. Gretchen. In fact, may mga nabuwal na electrical posts, may mga nabuwal na mga trees, may mga kubo-kubo na bumagsak ano. So, yun, ang pinaka-importante that we will be extending assistance. And although the local government and provincial government are preparing as well sa assistance para sa mga fisher folks natin, sa mga farmers natin. But that would really depend on sa rapid damage assessment ng mga MDR on what they really need.
So again, what kind of relief would you call out for everybody listening?
Yes, the assistance that our kababayans would need are non-food items, Ms. Gretchen, mga GIC para doon sa mga bubong nilang mga nilipad. Para maiayos ulit nila yung kanilang mga shelters.
Okay, so GI sheets, ayan po ay napakahalaga para sa ating mga kababayan na I guess that whose homes have been battered by the typhoon. In the meantime, what reminders or directives do you have for the residents who may still be at risk from floods or strong winds in the coming hours? Meron pa pong isa pang papasok ng Philippine Air Responsibility na low pressure area.
Yes, Ms. Gretchen. Although nakalabas na si Super Typhoon Nando sa amin, and since we're the catch basin dito sa Region 2 and the Caraballo Mountain Ranges, Cordillera and Apayao, lahat ng tubig na binagsak po niya, kami yung sasalo lahat niyan. And in fact, yung Kagayan River natin is still swelling. About to go doon sa threshold na alert level naming 6 meters na water level. So ang mga kababayan po natin na pinapakiusapan po natin manatili muna sa mga evacuation center, hintayin yung assessment po ng mga MDRMOs kung pwede na silang makabalik sa kanilang mga tanong.
Kamusta naman ho yung mga flood control measures dyan? Sapat naman po ba yung infrastructure?
There are flood control projects as well dito sa Gretchen. Ang pinaka nakakatulong po sa amin dito yung dredging po ng DPWH na ginawa, although hindi na natuloy. And Kagayan River still stays silted. We will still silted. Timado sa amin yung flooding pa rin.
Of course, we do know na kayo po talaga ay isa sa pinaka-flood-prone areas at tinadaanan po talaga ng bagyo. And we do hope that you get priority in the budget as these talks continue. In the meantime, we'll let you go. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Muli, panawagan para sa Cagayan, itong mga GI sheets para sa mga nasirang bubong at sa mga residente doon nga sa coastal areas. We have Cagayan PDRRMO Head joining us this morning, Rueli Rapsing. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Gretchen.
And coming right up, all eyes are on former DPWH engineer Bryce Hernandez as the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee continues its hearing on alleged anomalies in flood control projects. All that and more when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Senator Ping Lacson is threatening to revoke the legislative immunity of Bryce Hernandez after he refused to surrender a computer said to hold key evidence. More in this report.
Bulacan 1st District Assistant Engineer Bryce Hernandez is hesitating to turn over his computer, which contains crucial evidence in the flood control probe. The Senate allowed Hernandez to return home for 12 hours on Saturday to retrieve his documents and computer at his residence. But Senator Ping Lacson, who chairs the Blue Ribbon Committee, learned on Sunday night that the beleaguered engineer changed his mind upon surrendering the device at the behest of his lawyer. Lacson said Hernandez will face consequences if he won't turn in this equipment.
I will cancel the legislative immunity na binigay sa kanya. And we will not recommend him to be admitted into the Witness Protection Program.
But in an earlier interview with Ted Filon and DJ Chacha on True FM, Lacson said Hernandez only changed his mind upon seeing agents from the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group.
Noong habang nandoon yung OSAA, kasama si Bryce Hernandez, this was last Saturday, may mga dumating na si IDG agents doon. Parang, kumbaga, medyo nagbago yung isip ni Bryce Hernandez. Hindi agad niya tinan over yung computer. Hindi ko nga alam kung bakit may mga si IDG agents na nagpunta ron.
Meanwhile, Lacson and Senate President Tito Soto met with the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Soto said the ICI wanted to know more about budget procedures and how individual amendments or insertions are possible. This included the workings of the small committee which is accused of making alleged illegal insertions for various infrastructure projects in the 2025 budget. Soto told the ICI that there's nothing wrong with the small committee, but he stressed that whatever changes it makes on the budget should still be approved by the bicameral conference committee.
Ginagawa nila usually yon dahil mahirap yung masyadong maraming member ng BICAM kung ang pag-uusapan lang ay mga 3 or 4 points, no? So talagang naggagawa talaga usually ng small BICAM. Pero kailangan ang lumalabas doon sa small BICAM ay approved nung regular BICAM, bigger BICAM, at saka maliwanag, at saka yung transparent.
Lacson, on the other hand, was more direct as he said before the ICI that lawmakers are the source of corruption. Lacson also submitted 13 folders containing evidence of anomalous transactions in flood control projects.
We want to go as far as, reaching the original sin. And the original sin is Congress. Kung wala nag-insert, walang paglalaroan yung mga district engineering offices eh. So we're mulling on the idea na mag-usap yung House at saka yung Senate.
The ICI said it has received reports of widespread destruction and tampering of official documents by some DPWH officials in connection with questionable flood control contracts. It did not specify which DPWH office was involved, but it stressed that all records relating to public works are public property. The Commission reminded officials that any attempt to destroy, falsify, or conceal them is a grave offense that carries both administrative and criminal liability.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee resumes today its investigation into alleged anomalies in flood control projects. Now, at the center of that is former DPWH engineer Bryce Hernandez, who was earlier cited in contempt but later on allowed to go home to retrieve key files and a computer said to contain vital evidence. Committee Chair Senator Ping Lacson has not ruled out the possibility of unsealing Hernandez's evidence today, though he stressed the need to preserve the chain of custody to aid possible prosecutions. Hernandez had linked Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Joel Villanueva to alleged budget insertions worth hundreds of millions of pesos. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla said authorities are investigating a possible terrorist involvement in the riot that erupted during the September 21 protests in Manila. He confirmed receiving intelligence reports of a terror plot to bomb protest sites in Luneta and along EDSA over the weekend. Remulla added that those arrested may face charges of arson, physical injuries, and inciting to sedition after allegedly threatening to burn down Malacanang Palace.
The threat of the terrorists was more of a bomb that would go off in Luneta or in the Luneta or in the People Power Monument. We had 400 policemen on the ground dressed as plainclothes to see what is going on. Safe to say, we are still investigating according to our intelligence reports, and we will come out with a report pretty soon.
Meanwhile, the National Capital Region Police Office said a well-known rapper allegedly incited minors and members of the so-called hip-hop gangsters or gangs to provoke violence during the demonstrations.
Ongoing investigation natin regarding dito, pero meron na rin naman po kaming person of interest na tinitingnan na posibleng nag-influence sa kanila ng mag-conduct ng ala Nepal na mga activities. Rapper siya, isa siyang rapper na tinitingnan nitong ating mga kabataan. Previously, meron siyang mga post sa social media na nag-iinganyo po siya na dressed in all black. mag-mask ng black.
Newly elected House Speaker Boji D said he prefers to end the Infrastructure Committee's investigation into anomalous flood control projects, citing a lack of public trust. In his first interview with reporters, D said the inquiry should instead be handled by the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. The flood control scandal has put Congress under scrutiny, with contractors alleging that some lawmakers receive kickbacks from flood-related projects. D added that releasing the SAL-ends of all public officials is one way to rebuild public confidence.
Total, hindi naman pinaniniwalaan ng ating karamihan ng ating mga kababayan kung ano nangyayari dito sa Infocom nito. Sa tingin ko, mas makakabuti na ipasa na namin sa ICI.
Lahat dapat talagang makita at maging bukas ang SAL-end ng bawat isa para sa ganun talagang ipakita natin sa ating mga kababayan at may manumbalik ang pagtitiwala sa atin.
Up next, ICC prosecutors have charged former President Rodrigo Duterte with 3 counts of murder, alleging crimes against humanity. And we'll discuss that with attorney Gilbert Andres when we return. Don't go away. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. In your own Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. International Criminal Court prosecutors have charged former President Rodrigo Duterte with 3 counts of murder, citing alleged crimes against humanity during his tenure as Davao City Mayor and President. The 15-page filing by Deputy Prosecutor Mame Mandiae Nyang details Duterte's alleged responsibility for 19 killings in Davao City, 14 high-value targets during his presidency, and 45 victims in nationwide barangay clearing operations. Prosecutors allege Duterte and his co-perpetrators followed a common plan to target suspected criminals, including drug offenders, through violent means. Duterte is currently detained at The Hague, and a hearing initially set for September 23 was postponed after his lawyers cited Duterte's declining health, claiming he is unfit to stand trial. And to help us understand the latest developments in the International Criminal Court's case against former President Rodrigo Duterte, we have now on the show ICC accredited lawyer attorney Gilbert Andres, Executive Director of the Center for International Law Philippines. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Gretchen, and good morning also to your viewers.
Okay, first of all, a document containing the charges was released last night. How is this different from the confirmation of charges? Is that one and the same?
The document containing charges will actually be the document that will be the subject of the confirmation of charges. So, if the document containing charges is the 4 corners of the official charges against Mr. Duterte as it stands now, the confirmation of charges is the process that will determine whether or not which portions will actually be confirmed so that it can go to trial if ever.
Okay. And is there a possibility of these charges not being confirmed? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng prosesong confirmation of charges?
Okay, Gretchen, under Article 61, there are actually 3 choices for the pretrial chamber. Number 1, it's to confirm the charges. Number 2, not to confirm the charges. Or number 3, to adjourn and then to refer again the document containing charges to the prosecution for possible reinvestigation or amendment. So those are the only 3 possible options for the pretrial chamber in a confirmation of charges hearing.
Okay. And with that said, what is your reading about the possibility of these charges being confirmed, as well as the charges stated there were 3 counts of murder?
Well, first and foremost, for the victims of the war on drugs, they really hope that these charges will be confirmed. In fact, more than that, they hope that this will be confirmed, and in fact that this hopefully will also be expanded, because there were also thousands upon thousands of instances of illegal arrests, arbitrary detention during the Duterte war on drugs. As to your question, number 2 is that it's also important to realize that in a confirmation of charges, the bar of evidence is only low. It's not really proof beyond reasonable doubt. It's only substantial grounds to believe. So we hope that this will actually be confirmed as charges.
Help us understand the 3 counts of murder. If you take a look at it, there was one for when he was mayor, another for when he was president, and another for barangay clearance operations. Pero under each count, there are multiple counts of murder, or it involves multiple incidents and victims.
Yes, Gretchen, there are 3 counts, but under 3 counts, there are incidents because there are victims involved. And also, I'd like to emphasize that although there were only 76 murders that cited here in the document containing charges, the prosecutor actually emphasized that it's not limited to 76 murders. In fact, there were hundreds, at least during the mayoral period of Mr. Duterte, as well as thousands during the presidential period. Now, if you look at count one is about the murder as a crime against humanity in Davao City during the mayoral period of Mr. Duterte. And we say mayoral period, it's from November 1, 2011 until June 30, 2016, wherein it cites 9 incidents involving 19 victims. And as to count 2, it's murders, crimes against humanity of high-value targets during the presidential period of Mr. Duterte, involving at least 14 victims. And count 3 is the murder and attempted murder as crimes against humanity in barangay clearance operations in locations across the Philippines during the presidential period of Mr. Duterte, which involves 45 victims and 43 murders.
Okay. And this means this all falls under one. Kumbaga parang one charge. Yung tigi-isa na yon. Because it is crimes against humanity. Tama po ba? I mean, it is a system that is being investigated here.
Okay. This is how we understand it, Gretchen. So there's a document containing charges, and under that, there are 3 counts. Now, this will be the issue in a confirmation of charges. Will count 1 be confirmed, which is murders of crimes against humanity in Davao City during the mayoral period. And then next, will count 2 be confirmed? And then will count 3 be confirmed? So, because these are 3 separate counts, although crimes against humanity. So that will be the issue in the confirmation of charges. Count 1 ba, mako-confirm ba siya at matutuloy pa ito sa trial? Yung count 2 ba, mako-confirm ba siya at matutuloy sa trial? Or yung count 3 ba, mako-confirm siya at matutuloy sa trial? So ngayon, mas madali na nating maintindihan kasi nakita na natin na mayroong 30 separate counts. Although lahat po ito ay crimes against humanity, separate po silang counts of crimes against humanity of murder.
And just to reiterate the point, again, the Duterte supporters will say kung paano naging crimes against humanity ito, kung 19, 14, and 45 yung mga biktima dito sa ilalim. Kumbaga, it didn't reach the hundreds or the thousands. How do you counter that?
Actually, number 1 is that na-emphasize naman po ng prosecution na hindi naman po limited sa 76 murders. In fact, emblematic lang po ito ng mga crimes against humanity for murder na nangyari during the mayoral period as well as during the presidential period. Number 2, talagang hindi mo naman malalagay lahat talaga, yung thousands na yun, doon sa presidential period at yung hundreds na during the mayoral period. Kaya pumili lang po talaga yung prosecution ng mga emblematic na mga incidents para po makita dun sa confirmation of charges. Kasi sa confirmation of charges, kailangan po ma-specify kung sino po yung namatay, sino po yung na-murder dun sa war on drugs ni Mr. Duterte. Kaya ito lang po talaga yung limitations ng international criminal justice system. Kaya this should not lead to a disinformation or to a misleading statement na ang konti naman pala. Kasi in fact, even the prosecutor emphasized in paragraph 19, and if I may quote it, including but not limited to the 76 murders charged in this DCC as well as at least hundreds of other murders during the mayoral period, thousands of other murders in the presidential period, and other violent crimes under Article 7.1.
Okay. Attorney, what does this mean? Is the confirmation of charges coming right up because meron ng document of charges? Kumbaga parang ilang araw na lang yung inaantay for this to happen? Or is everybody still in limbo about that given the health of the former president, which is still being assessed? Am I correct about that?
Okay. There's a separate issue, which is the fitness for trial of Mr. Duterte, because there was an allegation by the defense. But the postponement was actually not limited. In fact, it's a limited period just to determine Mr. Duterte's fitness for trial. As to how long will be that limited period, it's not really publicly stated. But the pretrial chamber has emphasized in its decision to postpone that this will only be as to the determination. Hindi po siya indefinite adjournment, which is what the defense has been asking. But it's only a limited period para lang po ma-determine yung fitness for trial ni Mr. Duterte. And the prosecutor wants also to have their expert witness determine the fitness for trial of Mr. Duterte, as well as the pretrial chamber. It also has the power under the Rome Statute and the Rules of Procedure and Evidence to actually have its own expert determine the fitness for trial of Mr. Duterte. But I'd like to add that, in fact, there were certain public statements by no less than the Vice President, Sara Duterte, that he even talked to his father last Friday about the corruption, about the control, about his love life. So I don't think that, I really think that Mr. Duterte is fit to stand trial.
Okay, what's next after this? Ano pong inaantay? Totoo po ba na may mga victims who were supposed to head on over to The Hague pero na-postpone? Ano po yung status ng ating mga witnesses?
Okay, just to clarify, number one, there's really no need for the victims to really go in person into a confirmation of charges because in fact, hindi pa po sila represent na mga witnesses kasi in fact, even the prosecutor, it's very rare for the prosecutor to present in-person witnesses. It's really statements of witnesses through their sworn affidavits. So, antabayan po natin kung matuloy po yung confirmation of charges.
All right, that's it for now. Thank you so much for helping us understand this latest development on the ICC, the document of charges coming out, and there's more to come. Maraming salamat. We have Attorney Gilbert Andres, Executive Director of the Center for International Law Philippines. The Ateneo School of Government has challenged President Bongbong Marcos to penalize everyone involved in corruption, stating the issue is eroding public trust in institutions. In a position paper, the Ateneo School of Government condemned the gravity of human greed, the blatant disregard for the rule of law, and the complicity of leaders in flagrant corrupt practices. The school argued that the deepening crisis is systematically eroding the integrity of public institutions and corroding the moral fabric of public service. It cited the 254.3 billion allocation for the Department of Public Works and Highways Flood Management Program, calling such graft-prone projects a shift away from strategic investments. ASOG demanded an institutional scrutiny up to the highest echelon of power if the administration is serious about tackling corruption. The school also warned the government's inability to properly manage the budget will lead to continued reliance on borrowing and a faster-growing national debt. And to discuss this further, we have former DBM Secretary Butch Abad. He also was part of the crafting of that position paper of the Ateneo School of Government and Flood Control Projects. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Secretary.
Magandang umaga, Gretchen.
Okay, the scope of the data in that position paper is 10 years, correct? Same as the scope of ICI.
Yes. We looked at not just the present but even the past for purposes of getting a comparison and looking at the context of the problem.
So 2015 po ito onwards. Hindi po kasama yung Pinoy administration, just to be clear.
Well, we can also include that, but you know.
Okay, just to put the proper context. Okay, the flood control in 10 years, if you take a look at the numbers that you released, went from 2% to 4%. Does that strike you as a lot?
Well, that's almost a trillion pesos. And right now, over the past 3 or 4 years, it already constitutes about 22% of the infra budget of the DPWH. So it's a huge chunk of our infra budget today.
That goes to the DPWH. And how much have budgets grown on a per day basis for the offices of the President, the Vice President, Congress, and the Senate?
Well, they have grown very significantly. And in fact, all the offices benefited from the insertions that were taken from the regular programs and projects of the President. And what we presented there is really the amount of tax money that we all put together to assist the policymakers or the legislators to become effective and productive legislators. So we should be able to get something from our investments in making sure that our institutions work better. But looking at those numbers, many would feel disappointed because of what we're hearing today about all the irregularities that are happening.
Okay, just to cite what is in that document that you released, from 2016 to 2025, there was a 461% increase in the budget of the Office of the President, a 47% increase for the Office of the Vice President, a 275% increase for the Office of the Senate, and 280% increase naman for the House of Representatives. I mean, what could explain that? Is it right to interpret this as over the top, or is there a way to somehow rationalize the increase?
Well, that is something that those institutions, particularly their leaders, will have to explain to the people because they are our representatives. And if we are investing that much money, increasing significantly over the years, we should be getting good results, Gretchen, di ba? But if we are getting all of these shocking corruption issues, then really we do have to look at those amounts that we have invested in those institutions.
Kayo ho ay dating naging Secretary ng Department of Budget and Management. What was the budget like back then for these offices? Siguro let's zone in on the Office of the President. It now has a budget of 43 million per day. Saan po ba nagagamit yung ganung budget?
Well, the Office of the President, of course, does a lot of important function for the country. It's principally in charge of directing the development priorities of our country. And of course, he travels a lot to raise the funds for our project and also to meet with world leaders. So we should look at it in that context and see if what is provided for in the budget is appropriate for those types of functions. Yes, Gretchen.
Oh, but what was it like during your time as Secretary of DBM?
Well, it was much less, about half of what is now being provided for in those institutions. So, the question is that increase justifiable? And our people, will have to be told why those increases were made. Otherwise, they will feel that the jumps in the budgets were too high and do not justify the kind of work that we are getting, the kind of results that we are getting today.
And with these realignments to these offices, there were, of course, losers of that budget. According to your research, who were the biggest losers here?
Well, unfortunately, for example, many of those agencies that provide assistance to the poor, for example, this year, 2025, the total subsidy that PhilHealth should have received, which is about 74.4 billion pesos for 2025, that was in the National Expenditure Program or the President's budget, was zero. So nothing was left of the PhilHealth subsidy for year 2025. And the PhilHealth subsidy goes to informal premiums. Since the poor cannot pay premiums to enjoy PhilHealth benefits, then it is the government that subsidizes it. And that subsidy comes from the 74.4 billion. Secondly, the increased benefits and the lowering of premiums may also come from the subsidy. But now that the premiums are gone, then the possibility of increasing the services and lowering the premiums paid by the formal premium payers will no longer be possible. And finally, investments for PhilHealth so that it is able to provide services in the future have also been zeroed out, so there is no longer that possibility. The 2025 GA, for example, also reduces by 50 billion the four-piece program, the conditional cash transfer program, which is the flagship poverty reduction program of government. So if you remove 50 billion and transfer it to projects like AKAP, AX, or which are really cash giveaways, and these are not rules-based programs, meaning they don't identify who the beneficiaries are. They don't set conditions so that these beneficiaries can take advantage of these benefits, and they don't make regular reportorial requirements so that we know what is happening to those funds. Then what happens then is instead of strengthening our poverty reduction efforts, we weaken it. There is also in 2024, for example, Gretchen, 224 billions of foreign assisted projects. These are approved loans already and government counterpart, which are being coursed through the appropriations process because they have to be authorized. About 157 billion of those foreign assisted projects, mostly from the Department of Transportation, were also taken away. Now, what happens now to those strategic high-impact projects? That is the question that is being raised by many people. So those are, by way of example, what had been taken away and transferred somewhere else to projects like flood control, cash giveaways, and all sorts of other projects that, in fact, do not impact to the benefit of our people, but instead are being stolen away or used for patronage purposes.
Good findings there. No, I'm putting it all together and the way that you were able to put that side by side. But I guess there are many questions here about who is accountable. For one, what power does the president have to cut the fat in this budget? Dahil nga po, his office has power to veto. And he has had vetoed it before, particularly yung DPWH last year, 26 billion yung tinanggal niya dun sa DPWH budget. 168 billion ang tinanggal niya sa unprogrammed appropriations. I mean, isn't he capable of seeing all of this and where the money is actually now being directed?
Well, if it had only happened once, Gretchen, then you could say, baka natutulog lang sa pansitan yung mga executive heads, no? But since this happened in that magnitude, and more than once, in fact, in 2023, 2024, and 2025, it's hard to believe that the department heads would not have been able to find this out. And in fact, along the way, there could have been many instances where this could have been stopped if the president had been informed about it. For example, when this was being discussed in the bicameral conference committee, and before it was sent to both chambers for ratification, the president could have been informed, and that could have been stopped. Or when the proposed GAA was submitted to the president for his approval and signature, the executive, the department heads, could have compared the national expenditure program to the proposed GAA. And there, they would have been able to see the big difference between what was approved as the president's budget and then what was in the proposed GAA. And the president would have vetoed many of these items, even as much as not just 26 billion, but as much as 400 billion. And the money from the vetoed items would then go to the general fund of the National Treasury. And what the president can do is submit a new, or what is called a special appropriation to Congress, so that those vetoed funds can in fact be allocated to the appropriate projects that the president finds important for his administration. Those could have been done.
What is the role of the DBM here? We have a quote here from the DBM secretary. Sabi niya, they submitted 700 pages with more than 15,000 line items referring to the DPWH. We don't have a single engineer in our office, so we acted in good faith. What would you say to that? Ano ang papel ng DBM dito? Hindi ba parang sila yung dapat unang magsala po nitong mga proposal ng budget?
Tama ka doon, Gretchen. The first agency that is who should be able to detect huge changes in the budget would have been the Department of Budget and Management. It's not so much knowing or having the technical capacity like the engineering skills to find out if these projects were the appropriate projects to be undertaken by the government. But just looking at the numbers, for example, because if you look at the summary of the bicameral conference committee, you will see the huge amounts of decreases in the president's budget, and then the diversions made out of the president's budget. Yun pa lang should be a signal for the department to say, stop muna tayo. Let's not ratify that. We want to look at it. And they would have been able to see the huge amounts involved. Just the amounts and where they were taken, that is possible to determine, Gretchen.
Secretary, I'm sorry we don't have a lot of time, but just as a final question, you called on the ICI to include more officials in their investigation. Do you feel there are people being shielded in the probe in both both houses of Congress? Meron pa po ba kayong gustong marinig na hindi pa natatawag?
Well, I don't want to preempt the ICI, but I think chairs and the vice chairs of the Committee on Appropriation, as well as the Finance Committee of the Senate, as well as the heads of the institutions, the Speaker and the Senate President, should be asked to shed light on why these huge cuts and huge diversions were made. For us to know, because we have no idea where these funds were taken, and they are, as I said, hundreds of billions, totaling about 1.45 trillion in 3 years, and where they were diverted or inserted. Because the people have a right to know, because right now, we don't have the information. And we would like them to make public the bicameral conference reports in 2023, 2024, and 2025 because those are important leads to finding out answers to those questions.
And apart from the House Speaker, you also called on Senate President Cheese Escudero as well as members of the Appropriations Committee or the small committee, pati na rin po dun sa technical staff as well as the Executive Secretary. Bakit po si ES?
Hindi, kasi you don't call the president naman to
Okay.
But,
so he represents the office of the president.
He has a representative as
Correct.
well as the other department heads can face the ICI so that we can hear their explanation because right now, as I said, we're not hearing anything, and as Senator Ping Lacson said, the original sin happened in the bicameral conference committee. That's where the huge cuts were made, and that's where that made possible the huge insertions in the budget.
And the final person you're calling on is the Commission on Audit, which we haven't heard from still, and we are waiting as they are the other huge agency involved here. But the way that this paper has been written, very strongly worded, it does not skip a beat when it says that these officials have been complicit in corruption. So thank you so much for explaining that to us. We'll probably have you on our other shows for a longer time. But maraming salamat for joining us this morning right here on Morning Matters. We have former DBM Secretary Butch Abad who spoke to us on the latest position paper of the Ateneo School of Government.
Salamat, Gretchen. Thank you.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.